Hello, my name is Amina and I'm your decision-making specialist. And today I've told you a little bit about my grandmother and my dad, and I want to mention my grandpa today. And that is just a thing that I remember about him when I was little. And my grandmother always used to say that I had more patience than anyone she had ever met for such a little girl. And I was running around really proud, and I'm patient, I'm patient. And then she said, "Pumpkin, do you know what I'm talking about?" And I said, "Yeah, I have lots of patience. I have just baskets of it." She said, "You do. And the reason is you've not used very much of it." And she said that in a very kind, loving way. And I said, "Oh, okay." And I decided, as much as I didn't want to, I was going to try to use a little bit of that patience. And guess what? I got to practice every time I talked to my grandpa, because he wore glasses. And I would go, and he was reading his paper or listening to the radio or drawing something. He did a lot of gardening and grafting of trees, 4 different kinds of apples on one tree and peaches and different things. And so he would design it, and he would do his thinking and write down his ideas. And I'd be standing there back and forth, being patient. And he would look up, and I would ask him a question. And I'll tell you what he would do every time. He would have me sit on his lap, and he would say, "Just a minute, Pumpkin." And I would say, "Okay, Grandpa." And I knew what he was going to do. He took off his glasses very slowly, and he took out his handkerchief, and he'd wipe one lens and look through it, and then he'd wipe the other, and he would look through it, and then he'd put them back on, and he would say, "Okay, I can hear better now." I would just laugh, and he would laugh, and then I would ask my question, and he would answer it. And then I just treasure that memory. And I always remember about that part, about not having used very much of my patience. I'll tell you quite honestly, I still have a lot left. However, I have learned to use it more and more than I did when I was 5 years old. And one of the things that I learned along the way that reminded me of the patience is I studied with a Vietnamese monk named Thich Nhat Hanh. And in one of our workshops, he was talking about if the phone rings, and that was before our cell phones, and it still applies to the cell phone. If it rings, if there's a text, if there's an email notification of a ding. And what he said is not to rush to answer, not to rush to pick up the phone. He said to count to 3. The reason for him saying to count to 3 is he said that most of us would, the old days, remember, would dial a number, push the buttons, and the same thing we do now of just texting, pushing a button to get to a person. And that is that we would usually do it without a lot of forethought. We would just have an idea, we'd have a thought, we'd have a feeling, and we were there. Me too. And what he said, by counting to 3 before you respond, And he said, and if someone's talking to you, count inside to 3 before you respond or ask a question. And I kept, when he was talking, I kept thinking of my grandpa, wondering, was he counting to 3? And with that memory, and with Thich Nhat Hanh saying to count to 3, I have learned a lot about patience. It does not mean that I don't want to just roar and just disregard, tip over my bucket of patience and move forward fast. And I do a lot. It's just when I move fast. I have counted at my best. Sometimes I'm not there. When I am at my very best, solid in my circle, I count to 3 before I take off, as if there were a race and I had to wait for the gun to fire. That's not really a gun, a cap, for a whistle to blow, for somebody to clap their hands or say yes, or somebody to wave the flag to move my car forward. So I'm going to offer to you that you count to 3, especially during these days that you're in shelter and you're with yourself, with you and somebody else and your kids, with whomever is around and that you have contact with in real or virtual, and count to 3, because our tendency to roar off, react, miscommunicate, say something we don't really mean exactly like it came out, the tendency is really great now because our mind is so preoccupied with all the things of trying to work from home, have the kids schooled, make the meals, get along with everybody 24/7 pretty much, and take a look and be maybe pretty concerned about our finances and not knowing, if we don't have enough money for rent or for a payment, we'll get excused for that. However, it doesn't go away, and that's in the back of our mind. If we're going to get the virus, that's in the back of our mind. There are so many what ifs that we have stacked, that trying to peer through those what ifs, trying to hear through that noise, trying to relax with the tension in our body, sometimes it's not really easy. So when you can remember we are not trying to be perfect in any way, shape, or form. We're just trying to, every once in a while, even for an eyelash, to be the way we would like to be when we finally get to go out there. So one of the ways to do it with yourself is that if somebody's talking to you and they're talking too fast or too much, just in order to count to 3, just tell them, I'm feeling really overwhelmed. I have stuff going on in my head. I'm full, and I really want to hear what you have to say because I know it's very important. And remember that we always want to be understood. That is the first tip, is always we want to be understood. So let them know you want to understand them. And in order for you to do that, would they be able to slow down, talk not quite so loud, because you want to be able to hear every word they say. Now there's a bonus to that. Oh, it's using up some of your patience. It's being very kind and generous to the other person. And you know what the bonus is? The bonus is that when they slow down and they be a little softer in their tone, it leaves a little bit eyelash of a space for you to really look at them and notice that this is somebody that you do care about, somebody that you love, maybe somebody that you've been for a long time wishing that you had time to spend with them because you've been so busy and so fast, not counting to 3, just your to-do list. And so this opportunity is a bonus to you to check. Listen to their voice. Look how their eyes are when they're talking to you. Watch their mouth. Look how they do their head, their hands. And if you want, fall in love with them all over again, or cherish them the way you did in the very beginning of when you met, very beginning of when that little baby was born. All by just counting 1, 2, 3, listening, watching, and hearing more slowly. And I think you'll notice that inside, you too are speaking more softly, more slowly, and more caring of yourself. All right, 1, 2, 3, write that story and make it one that you want to live and a legacy that you want to take to the outside when we get to go there. And I want you in your very best shape, your very best 1, 2, 3 version when you go out there. Thanks for coming. Please leave a comment below. I'd like to have this be a conversation. Click click subscribe. Talk about needing to go 1, 2, 3. And if you would like, and this is helpful to you, please recommend to somebody else. It's not about me. This is my way of contributing because we are all in this together. Thanks. Come back tomorrow for day 21. All right, take care. 1, 2, 3.